Episode 61, Roots. The waiter placed the coffees on the table. Sheena needed the caffeine desperately to calm her nerves. But she didn't even touch the cup because she didn't want to miss out on anything that would be spoken by the person sitting opposite herself. Was he her... Oh Lord, please give me some strength. Sheena began to fiddle with the cross dangling from the gold chain across her neck. She did this whenever she was nervous. It was with the greatest difficulty that she had been able to track down the guy. And after much cajoling, he had finally agreed to meet. Sheena stared at the coffee mug, and the last 3 months flashed by her mind. Sheena was the third child of Richard and Angelina Williams. She was their first adopted child. Their first 2 children were biological children. The second adopted child and the last of the siblings was an Afro-American girl child, Christina. Loving parents and loving siblings should have kept Sheena contented. But she pined to know her roots, her real parents back in India. As Sheena grew up, she came across many Indians in the school. Her brown skin and typical Indian features instantly proved that she was also an Indian. Thus, Sheena got to know of her adoption at an early stage of life. She had been taught in school that India was an underdeveloped country, and there were millions of children languishing in orphanages there, dumped by parents unwilling to bring them up. Was she also an unwanted child or unplanned? Was she abandoned? Did she belong to an affluent family? Or maybe to a deprived one? These were unanswered questions that had troubled Sheena for a long time. When Harry, her best friend from childhood, informed her about a collaborative study along with the Delhi University, Sheena jumped at the opportunity and decided to travel to India. Her parents were very supportive, as were her siblings. Angelina hugged her at the airport and lovingly told her, "Go and find out, Sheen, who gave birth to you. And if you find them, do thank them on our behalf for giving us such a wonderful child." Sheena cried for a good hour, remembering her mother's warm words, and promised herself that whatever happens in India, she will go back to her family, the family that had always taken care and brought her up with so much of love and affection. When Sheena first set foot in the orphanage where she was brought 19 years ago, she experienced a most creepy feeling. The rector in charge was cold and totally non-cooperative. He refused to divulge any information to Sheena. Sheena was hugely disappointed and angry. She was Indian by roots, but had no experience of dealing with Indians. She had no idea that bribery oils even the most rusted wheels in India. Luckily, her guide at the university program knew this fact, and with his help, Sheena found a woman in her mid-40s who had been working at the orphanage since the last 21 years. एक आदमी आता था साहब। आदमी तो क्या, लड़का जैसा था, 22-23 साल का होगा। बच्ची को वही छोड़ के गया। फिर भी कभी कभी देखने आता था साहब। हम सबको तो बहुत दया आती थी। पता नहीं क्या मजबूरी रही होगी कि बच्ची को यहां छोड़ना पड़ा। शायद मां मर गई होगी साहब। The address that she gave was of the men's hostel in the country's best known engineering college. It was then that Sheena had begun the long and arduous journey of tracking down the name given to her by the woman at the orphanage. Uh, I guess you have the right to know who were your parents, Sheena. Well, Apurva was one of the brightest kids in our college. He was no stranger to burning the midnight candle at both ends. He was consumed with proving himself as the best, right from the first semester of engineering college. He worked day and night. His roommates would tease him. We would all rag him. But there was no way we could detach him from his classes and books and his library time. You see, when you continuously look the other way, and then suddenly you are exposed to female company and femininity, you tend to overdo it. The same happened with Apurva. God knows how and when did he meet Kasturi. She was the daughter of the girls' hostel supervisor. Apurva had been away from female company for so long, I guess, that his infatuation with Kasturi was almost double. He enjoyed the physical proximity with her to the full. हॉस्टल में बातें आग की तरह फैल जाती हैं. So all of us knew about their affair. Then after some time, we stopped seeing Kasturi around. We thought गई होगी कहीं. But one day I met Kusum auntie, her mother, at the DTDC bus stop. She told me that Kasturi had taken sick, and then she began to cry loudly. भैया भैया तुम लोगों को क्या, मजे लूट कर तुम लोग तो निकल लेते हो. हमारे हमारे बच्चे बेचारे फंस जाते. अब तुम बताओ क्या करूं, कहाँ लेकर जाऊं कस्तूरी को. हमारा परिवार का पूरा जीवन बर्बाद हो गया भैया. I was quite stunned to hear all of this. I shouted at Apurva in the hostel that he should have been careful before indulging in physical intimacy with Kasturi. But to my total shock, Apurva just smiled and replied in the most casual manner. अरे संजू भैया, काहे परेशान हो रहे हो? You are behaving as if I am the first one who had fun with Kasturi. So many of your batchmates have befriended her. इतना पढ़ाई का बोझ है संजू भाई, थोड़ा relaxation all of us need. Right? And don't worry yaar, if she is sick, so I will pay for her medical treatment. Big deal. 4 months later, Kasturi gave birth to a girl child. Kusum Didi called me up the next day, and between us we decided that I will take the little infant to the orphanage. That's how I brought you to the government orphanage. Sanjay Prasad stopped speaking for a while. Sheena could see that for him the entire incident was still very painful. Honestly, Sheena, I felt so bad for the little infant languishing at the orphanage. And then one day I read in the newspaper about an American couple who were in India to adopt a girl child. I contacted them and requested them to adopt the girl child from the government orphanage. They agreed, and that is how you got adopted. Sheena reached out for the coffee and gulped it down in one go. So, Have you been in touch with my father or with my mother? No, Sheena, not really. After Kasturi, in fact, Apurva got involved with a string of other female friends. His grades began to fall. He couldn't get any substantial placement, so his income became way too limited. His contract with MIT got squashed because he didn't have the required grades. So he just kept on slipping deeper and deeper into a vicious trap, barely able to stabilize himself. He got big time into gambling, womanizing, and all the negative things that you can imagine. Last I heard of him was 2 years ago from one of his classmates. Apurva was being chased by a mafia gang from Nairobi. Sanjay again paused for a break. So, Sheena, thank your stars that you are in a much better place with such a loving and caring family. God wanted you to be safe and away from Apurva. That is why He sent you to the other side of the globe, to the US. Go back to the US, Sheena, to your family, to a better and brighter future. All the best. Sanjay, as usual, gave a broad smile to the secretary before pushing open the door of the managing director of AR Industries. The managing director looked up and smiled at Sanjay. बेसाले, तेरे जैसा स्टोरी टेलर मैंने आज तक नहीं देखा. एयरपोर्ट पे प्लेन तक गुड बाय करके ही आया ना तू. बट रियली संजू, थैंक्स अ टन यार. If Ravina had got to know of that illegitimate girl child, तो ये AR Industries पर से मेरा नाम ही हट जाता बॉस. Now I understand that for all these years, why did you keep on bribing the only employee of the orphanage who was present when you had gone to leave that infant? Be yaar, I really want to call you Sanju Bhaiya once again, just like I used to call you in my college days.